MMA Fancast. My name's Luke, and I'm joined by friend of the show and recent and ongoing uh, guest, Taylor Cahill. Taylor, welcome.
Hey, it's great to be here as always.
I ran out of words to describe you. You've been on the show a lot, and you are a friend of the show, so I appreciate having you on. You have your second MMA fight coming up for 247 Fighting Championships, August 7th at the Memorial Convention Center. And so what's it like heading into your second official amateur MMA fight?
I think like a lot of smoke is cleared, and it's on. I'm pretty calm with it. I was a little bit more excited, I think, for the last one. Now I understand the pace. I understand just the whole procedure, how it's going to go, and I think it's a debut thing. Every debut fighter needs it. But I'm not going to say that I'm actually over anxious at all. Maybe a little bit for the last one, but this one's just going to go in there and we're going to do business, and that'll be that.
Well, it's very matter of fact from you. And I know you are excited to see where your career goes and to build a record. And so obviously that's an important part. But I do think it's very wise for you with all of your competition and wrestling background. You know more what you know once you've been there, which is an important part of the MMA game. And speaking of your martial arts background, you have a Naga belt sitting behind
That's
you.
right.
It's a great prop. Maybe one day it'll be a 247 Fighting Championship belt. But for now, let's talk about the Naga.
Soon it will be.
Soon it will be. Let's talk about the Naga belt behind you there.
So I went to the Pittsburgh Naga Championships, and I read the rules for intermediate and for expert, and there was no difference. I think the only thing that would keep me from doing an expert competition would be heel hooks. Not saying that I can't defend them, but I mean, it's competition and anything goes. And right now I'm trying to be an active MMA fighter. So it only takes one guy, lock up something. So with that being said, with the rules the same and heel hooks allowed in intermediate and expert, I just figured that I would do expert if they give you a belt if you win it. So figure just go win it and get a belt instead of a medal. First of many.
So that was the difference between getting a belt and getting. Now, technically, the expert level usually for Naga comes with a parentheses of a suggested amount of time training, right? Where it kind of says the amount of time training. So what was the expectation for somebody in the expert level? Over 5 years, or kind of what did they say?
Yeah, over 5 years. I think it's purple belt and up generally. I went against 3 purple belts. My first opponent was Jake Hicksenball. He's an active amateur MMA fighter from New York. He was tough. I'd say he was the toughest challenge, but he was also my first match of the day, which is always my worst. After that, I don't know the semifinals opponent name, but my opponent in the finals was Luke Murrin, and I know that he had on Smooth Comp, not any other grappling site, which I'm sure he's competing actively, but just on Smooth Comp alone, I think he had 37 wins. So he's a pretty active competitor, and I subbed him with a Katagatami. So maybe a little surge of confidence after that.
Yeah.
Danilo was pretty pumped. Me and Tanner both went, and he ended up taking second in the expert division. So I think when you have a white belt go in there and dominate everybody and have guys that are, obviously we've been grappling for a while, but, have higher level guys that have been doing jiu-jitsu and we go in there and dominate them. It's a great feeling because it's basically a fight.
Absolutely, it is. It's very much so. And as you said, Danilo was very happy, your coach. Danilo, I had him on the show. He's a great coach. He's an entertaining guy, tons of experience in BJJ. But I do think, while walking on eggshells gently here, because we get into the BJJ wrestling or grappling discussion, the reality is when you have the wrestling background that you and your brother have, you understand positioning. And with understanding positioning, you can pick up the submissions and the defense very well. So while you're a white belt, you have tons and tons of experience in grappling exchanges with different rule sets, of course. So you have a leg up on the BJJ guys, because there's plenty of BJJ guys that go into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu having never had a wrestling background. So it's great to see that. Also, having called your first amateur debut fight, you had gotten into some scramble positions in that fight, particularly one that I call sprawl, like a failed sprawl control, where you were in that. Given what you just did at Naga, do you think you would have handled that position? I know your first fight, it was a lot to take in, but afterwards you even said that you felt like some of those scrambles, you could have maybe been a little bit more wise in that, because it was your first fight.
Yeah, I definitely would say that. I feel like if it was, you learn from each competition. That's why I like to compete. I like to compete constantly. So yeah, I would be able to modify those changes at Danaga if that were my opponent there. But in the heat of the moment, first fight, you're not always thinking clearly. So that's one of the things that I'm glad that I got out of the way for my first fight, and I know it won't happen again. I think that really flipped a switch for me. I don't know what it was, but my grappling was coming for full circle before the fight, and I really felt super slick. But maybe I missed that little touch of holding position. Maybe holding it just a little bit longer. And ever since that fight, I mean, I've been a wrecking ball on the ground. So takedowns to submissions, and I think at my weight, my weight with Danilo in my corner and my wrestling ability, I don't know if there's anybody in Pittsburgh that's gonna be able to beat me. It's just facts.
Well, to be clear, you dominated your debut fight. I wasn't trying to say that any part of it was bad. It's just a situation that you brought up to me. And I'm glad, obviously, that you feel like right now that there's nobody in Pittsburgh that could beat you at 170. And I mean, I took a look at Tapology, at your ranking. You only have one fight win. It's nice to see you get popped right in there, I think mid 30s for your first fight with only one win. It's nice to see Tapology showing you that you're going to go up the rankings very quickly. And 247 Fighting Championships has showed that they put together really high quality opponents. Right now, they have an amateur champ in Cam Allgaier, who's 5-0, and he's fighting another 5-0 guy. And those are very experienced amateurs going at it. I could see Ryan and Jim Mooney, the matchmaker, doing that with you. Building you up to really high level opponents, which is important. Getting back to the Naga tournament a little bit, you're relatively new to the whole BJJ. You've been training with Danilo. What level of confidence did you have going in, knowing that purple belt is considered a higher belt? It's brown and then black, so it's up there. A lot of people have a lot more experience in purple belt. Did you feel at all nervous going up against 3 purple belts, or did you feel good going into it as you did coming out of it?
No, I don't really get nervous for competition. I know I put a lot of work in, and just because somebody has a color on their waist, it's not going to deter my mindset. Now, with that being said, there maybe are times that I think like, where do I need to get better? Where can this guy beat me, and where do I need to take this match? But all in all, I wouldn't say I get nervous. And a big thing about that is, and Danilo's always, he's always preaching to me that he's going to hold me to the Brazil standard. And I think there's a difference. And if I was in a lot of other gyms, I might have a purple belt around my waist, but that doesn't mean I'm a true purple belt. And I'm confident in being under him. And anywhere that I go that he's in my corner and my brother's in my corner and my family is, I don't think there's anybody that's going to beat me.
Well, let's talk about it a little bit. Your brother is going to make his debut in your hometown, or the hometown area, Johnstown, and you kind of called for that to happen after your last fight. Is he going to be in your corner for this fight? Is that the matchup for your corner? You're going to have Danilo and Tanner in your corner?
Yeah, I probably. It's a good mixed match, because I'm going to hear Tanner's voice. I'm going to hear, I would hear my family's voice, just because I've known him forever, obviously. But Danilo is the tower, and all commands come from the tower. So whatever Danilo is saying, Tanner's repeating it, and that's it. It's his system, and we're bought into it, and we're going to show why it's the best.
Well, it's always great to hear when a young fighter believes in the system that the coach is laying out there, and in their own skills, of course, because I think oftentimes you see young, talented fighters they get a little too distractible, which is probably a word I just invented, but they get distracted a lot by trying different stuff and trying to kind of do whatever they want versus following, like you said, the game plan, which is really important. And obviously that's great. How nervous do you think you'll be, or excited do you think you'll be being in Tanner's corner come August 21st when roles are reversed and you're not in the cage and that you're watching him make his debut?
Yeah, the rules will be reversed. That's the best way to say it. He's probably super nervous and excited at the same time. He knows I'm not going to lose, but it's one of those things when your brother steps in there, it's nerve wracking. And I know that he's going to win. I wouldn't want to fight him. I mean, he's a wrecking ball. He's a ball of fury, and I don't know if people are going to be able to handle his strength or actually believe it when he grabs them. So I'm going to be really nervous, but yet excited because I know he's a war machine. So it'll be fun.
Well, it was great interviewing Tanner and your other brother as well when we did a group interview a little bit ago. So it was really great getting to know both of them, and I'll have Tanner on for the interview when it's his time, coming up. Given the fact that you're not fighting in Johnstown and you're fighting at the Mobile Convention Center, how excited are you to come back into the Pittsburgh area for your second fight?
I'm excited. It was a good time, and I know my family and friends and all my fans were having a good time in the parking lot, and they'll be out there again. But it doesn't matter where I fight. I'll fight anywhere. It's just about the victory. That's all we care about. Wins. Trying to rack up wins. It doesn't matter where we're at.
Well, obviously that's a great mindset to have as any fighter. A lot of UFC fighters, they start trying to figure out, oh, they better in this area or over that area. But the reality is it's always one person in a cage. Doesn't really matter where it is. But speaking of some of your friends that will be in the parking lot celebrating with you, I met Evan DeLong and did a quick interview with him. How is he doing? Do you train with him? I think he's going to be making his debut at some point soon as well, though I don't think it's been announced. And I promise not to break news if it hasn't been officially put out there yet. But I think he's making his debut soon. Do you train with him, and how's he been doing?
I talk to him frequently. We try to get together. I wouldn't say we train consistently, but we do work it out together sometimes. We find a time and a place, and then we get at it. But we worked together for 3 years at Clarion. I was a 57, he was 65, and then he was 65, and I was a 74. So he's my practice partner for 3 years. It made me a lot better as a wrestler and a human being. And I think he's debuting soon. I don't think they released it, but
I don't think they have.
He's the type of guy he's athletic, he's strong, he's fast, he's bought into a system, and whatever you tell him, he's going to die doing it. So I think he's going to be a hard guy for anybody to fight.
Well, and it's always great to see that brotherhood among wrestlers. You trained together for 3 years, obviously made each other better. And there's a lot of work that goes into the wrestling room that transfers over very well into the MMA training room, where some guys don't necessarily have that same mindset that comes out of wrestling, which is great. Speaking of mindset, let's get to the mindset for you in how you see this fight going. If you're going to make a prediction, or if you just kind of want us to get excited about the fight, what should we expect to see come August 7th?
Yeah, I don't know. You will see me win, and I would like to get finished. But like Danilo says all the time, we're not going in there and just trying to rip his head off. I tried that. Now, if the modified rule set would have been a thing, it would have been done within a minute with ground and pound. But I'm going to stick to the plan that he lays out, and it could happen in the first round. It could happen in the first exchange. It could happen in the second round, and it could happen in the third round. I can win the fight on my feet. I can win the fight on my back, and I can win the fight on top. I'm going to try to take the fight to the cage and then wear him down, and we'll see if he can withstand the pressure.
I mean, that's about as good of an entertaining prediction as you get factually, and also makes it about what happens in the fight, which I think is important. I also think it's cool with the modified rule set because it gave you more ring experience, more time in there. Let's say you could have finished in the first minute. Well, that sounds great now in your debut, but it would have taken away more time for you to be in there. And I think that's an important part Obviously, you take the win and take the finish when you can. But I think as an amateur, it's important to get that cage time because you want to be put in situations so that you're aware for the next fight. But it will be exciting in a couple fights when we get to see you with the advanced amateur rule set with ground and pound allowed. And that does make quite a
If it
difference.
happens, we'll
Yeah.
see. I
Yeah.
don't know. We'll see.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, fair enough. Well, hey,
Yeah.
however it goes, I'm excited to be along
Yeah.
for the journey, and I expect to still be interviewing you many years to come,
Always.
no matter where your career goes. I expect that, and I'm looking forward to that, which is going to be great. As always, who are your thank yous? I think it's so important for any athlete, particularly on the way up, to really build in that gratitude of all the people that are around them, helping them on their journey.
Oh man, so many people. First and foremost, my mom, dad, my two brothers, unrivaled. Given things that most people wouldn't give, for us to be able to do this, and we work our ass off, and nothing is given, everything is earned. I think that's what makes it special. We're not the type of guys that are going back to a $500,000 house, and saying that we're fighters and that we fight for everything we have. And that's how it'll always be. So I can't thank them enough. My girlfriend, Megan, 8 years. I mean, I can't believe she stayed with me this long. I'm kind of crazy. So I got to thank her. She's had nothing but undivided support, and all my family and friends, all the people at the shop, everybody supporting us, tremendously, and coming out and buying tickets, and, always trying to make it the best experience for us. So those would be my main people.
Well, that's great as always to have you on as a guest. I look forward to calling your fight August 7th, and also to having you back on for an interview afterwards. Thanks again for taking time. Can't wait to see you in action.
Do you interview me? Do you interview me after again? What's the deal with that?
I'm not sure right now. I will be interviewing you for MMA Fancast afterwards for sure.
Okay.
For one of these videos. I'm not sure what the broadcast duties will look like quite yet. As you're alluding to, every fight up till now, I've been doing the post-fight interviews, which I've thoroughly enjoyed. It's literally the highlight, at least for me, as a announcer interview. But
you're like the Joe Rogan of 247.
Hey, I appreciate that. I would like to think I am the Joe Rogan of 247. We'll have to see how that goes. Obviously, Ryan Middleton, the owner of 247 Fighting Championships, is putting on great shows. They just get better and better. And so we'll have to wait to see kind of what the layout is for August 7th. But I'll be interviewing you afterwards, regardless, one way or another. And I can't wait to see you in action. Take care. You've been listening
to
Taylor Cahill on MMA Fancast. Have a good one.